decided that I am going to make a video about my keto journey. So if you notice on my channel, I have a 3-part series about my first month on keto. So if you didn't watch those, you might want to check them out first. I will put each of them in the description below, and that way you kind of have knowledge about what I'm talking about. So for timeline reference, today is November 22nd. So according to my Keto Manager app that I mentioned that we were using to track our macros, we started keto on September 13th. So it has been a little over 2 months, and since I posted those videos, it's been almost a month because I think I posted them on like October 24th. So we are about that time. I honestly thought it was a little bit longer, but that sounds about right because we're like going on almost 2.5 months now. So originally this was going to be a sit down and like talk to you, but I actually am going to curl my hair while I'm talking to you, but I wanted to make this little intro part first before I start getting into curling my hair. So first, I'm just gonna part my hair in half and get to curling it because I haven't done a hair video in a while and I was kind of missing it. I am going to curl and talk because I thought that that might be a little bit more interesting than just sitting down and talking. So I hope you stay tuned and enjoy. Okay, well, first I need to tell you guys the reason behind why I am quitting the keto diet. So this past week, I started having like severe muscle weakness. So I went to work, I had felt fine all day, like nothing out of the ordinary. And then I went to work and all of a sudden, like my legs felt extremely weak. Like I literally felt like they were just gonna buckle and I was just gonna fall down. And I was like, well, that's really weird. So at first I thought it was because I was like sitting at the counter. I was actually studying my score builders book, and I thought it was maybe because I was standing with my knees locked, and so maybe like they were getting weak. So I tried like standing with my knees bent a little bit so they weren't, locked out, to see if that helped, but it didn't really. And then like I started like feeling really hot and like nauseous, like I was gonna throw up, and I was like, okay, this is really weird. So like I told my manager and they were like, do you need to like sit down for a minute? And I was like, yeah, probably. So we had this little bench that I went and sat down on, and like I was like, does my face look like white? And a customer actually walked by and they're like, actually you look pretty flushed. Like I was like red, but I didn't know because I wasn't wearing makeup. I'm not wearing makeup now, and my skin has actually gotten really good, by the way. But normally I have like pretty red toned skin. So I was like, oh, maybe it's just because I'm not wearing any makeup, so my skin looks like more red. I don't know. I was wearing like a little beanie and they're like, are you hot? And so I took my beanie off. I went to get a like a wet rag from the bathroom and put that like on the back of my neck. Like I had to lay down. Like it was literally like awful, and it came out of nowhere. Like, yes, I had like class earlier and I wasn't doing anything, and then I went to work and I was standing on my feet, but I wasn't like physically exerting myself or like doing anything super strenuous. I was literally just standing at the register like reading. So it was really weird. So I ended up going home. Someone else came in to cover the rest of my shift. I was literally only there for an hour and a half. So I came home, I took a nap, but that didn't help, and I just felt so weak. And it wasn't just my quads either. Like my biceps also felt weak. Like I tried holding my book. Like I was holding my book out in front of me, obviously with both hands, and I felt like I would have dropped it. So I had to keep it on the counter. So it was just really weird. So then I had kept like an eye on it. the rest of that week. Okay, so that was last Monday. So exactly 1 week from today. So the next day, like, I still felt a little weak. It seemed to be a little bit better, but we had a live patient that day in lab, but luckily we didn't have to do anything like strenuous. It was just like outcome measures, because I was honestly nervous, like if I had to do like transfer or anything like that took strength, that I wouldn't have been able to do it. But luckily, like, it was just like asking questions or having them like perform activities, and we didn't really need to help them very much, so that was good. And then Wednesday, I had an OBGYN appointment, so I scheduled work off that day so that I could go to my appointment. So I went there, and I did mention this weakness to my OB, and because I was like, I mean, maybe she might know something. I know that's not really her expertise. Like, she asked me if I felt like it had something to do with my periods, and I was like, no, like, I just started like my new pack and everything, so I was like, everything's been fine as far as that, but like this just started like 2 days ago, so I wanted to mention it to her. She did like a quick manual muscle test, but from my experience, since I'm a physical therapy student, when I've gotten manual muscle tests by other healthcare providers like nurses or doctors, they do like a very quick screen version and not the way that a physical therapist would do it. So like, she was like, you seem pretty strong, and I told her, I was like, yeah, but like I physically feel weak. Like, I could barely like bring my like legs up and like hold it there. And when she was actually like doing like the exam part, like I had to have my legs out, and she asked me after, she's like, how was that? And I was like, if my feet weren't like planted, like I felt like I would have, like, my knees would have fallen out. She was like, okay, like, you know, just monitor like when these symptoms happen, and then if you feel like, you know, it keeps happening, like I would suggest going to someone to check it out. I was like, okay. So then that brings us to Thursday, the next week. So I have my neuro lecture on Thursdays, so I went to class, and we had a lecture on Guillain-Barre Syndrome. So if you don't know what Guillain-Barre is, it's a like autoimmune disorder that attacks the myelin, and one of the things that happens is muscle weakness, and eventually that leads to paralysis, and patients go in like a progressive stage, and it gets like really bad really fast. That's kind of a very shortened like review on that, just so you have some kind of idea. So I started freaking out during lecture, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just have this sudden onset of muscle weakness that came out of nowhere. Like, oh my gosh, like what if it gets worse? Like what if I end up at the hospital? Like I literally was freaking out, like having like a panic attack almost, like in class. Like I was like psyching myself out basically. So of course after class I go up to my neuro professor and I'm like, hey, so I'm trying really hard not to freak out, especially after the lecture that we had, but starting like 3 days ago, I started having severe muscle weakness, and I currently still have it. Like in lecture, I was doing like tests, like I was trying to like straighten my leg out and see like how long I could last and like lift my leg up, and everything was just still super weak. I felt like my grip was really weak and like all kinds of stuff. So she starts like asking me questions and having me do stuff. She asked me to do a squat, and I'm telling you guys, like I literally barely squatted down, and then I felt like I was gonna buckle. Like I had to hold on to the counter, and I was like, nope, I can't do it. So then like she literally like grabbed around me to like fully support me and lowered me down to a squat, and I was like, I can't stand up like without your help. Like that's how weak my legs were. And of course, like I was crying because I was like having so much anxiety and all this stuff. And she was like, she had me do a couple other tests that were fine. Like I was able to walk on my toes, I could walk on my heels, like totally fine. She did like manual muscle tests of my grip, and she was like, you feel strong. And I was like, yeah, but like I physically like mentally feel weak. Like I feel like my grip wasn't as strong as it should be. Like it still felt strong, but not as strong. I hope that makes sense. So she suggested that I go to the hospital, which of course freaked me out, you know, to get formally tested and all this stuff. So then I leave lecture and she's like, you know, keep me updated, blah, blah, blah. So I leave lecture, I'm like crying. I call my fiance and I'm like, hey, they told me that I should go to the hospital. Like, I don't know what to do. And because I asked her like the hospital versus urgent care. And she was like, well, urgent care might not be able to do like all the tests that you need. Like if it were some kind of neurological problem, I would probably need an MRI, like possibly a spinal tap, like things like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I do not want to do that. So I went home, and because I was like, I'm not going to the hospital like by myself. Tony was at work, so I was like, you know, we can talk about it later. So then I started doing more research, and okay, so this isn't obviously 100% known. This is just me doing my own Google research, because I didn't want to go to the hospital. One, because whoever wants to go to the hospital, but two, I cannot afford to go to the hospital, which I know is extremely sad, and you know, but that's the reality of the American healthcare system. Like my deductible is too high for me to afford to go to the hospital. So I did a lot of research and found that keto can cause muscle weakness. And also, I forgot to mention this, I had gotten a physical maybe like a month or so ago, maybe longer than that. I may have gotten my physical prior. Yeah, I definitely got my physical prior to us starting keto. So it was definitely more than 2 months ago when I got my physical. And they told me that I was vitamin D deficient because I did blood work and all of that. And they said the only thing that, you know, came up weird or whatever on my blood test was that I was vitamin D deficient, which I was like, okay, whatever, like, that's cool. Not really knowing what vitamin D does. And vitamin D deficiency can also cause muscle fatigue. So I was like, okay. And then adding keto on top of that, that can cause you to be vitamin deficient because you're cutting out like carbs, you lose a lot of electrolytes, like all that kind of stuff. So I was already vitamin D deficient prior to starting keto. So like I probably just made it worse. But the reason why I didn't think about it at the time, like especially when I was talking to my neuro professor, was because like I've been on keto for 2 months. So why would this muscle weakness like happen out of nowhere? That's what I thought was like weird. So that's why I didn't think about it. So then that's what I'm like thinking it was. So I started taking my multivitamin, which I've had in my drawer, but I just forget to take it. So I've been like taking that the past couple days, and then I bought a vitamin D supplement to add on top of that. So I'm taking a multivitamin and a vitamin D supplement, drinking a ton of water. I drink a Propel every day, and then also trying to keep my salt intake. So like Tony's made me like the bouillon broth that I made in one of my keto videos, which is actually like really delicious. So just doing all of that stuff. Okay, so I started doing that starting like Thursday night, I guess. So I had work Friday and Saturday. Friday I had a truck shift, so I'm like opening boxes, hanging clothes, all kinds of stuff. So I was like nervous that like doing all of that was gonna like exacerbate it. But like I got through my whole truck shift, like I was totally fine. Like, I mean, yes, I did feel a little bit of weakness, but nothing like it had been Monday, not even close. And even Thursday when I was having weakness during class, like it seemed better. And then Saturday I just had, you know, a normal shift and was totally fine. Okay. So then Sunday, I had to go do a volunteer experience. Actually made another diver PT student that will include that. I haven't decided if I'm gonna make it its own video or include it in another video, but I do talk about it. I had to do an experience for my neuro class because I had to do an assignment for it. So I had to volunteer at this place for 4 hours, so from 8 to 12. And the first patient that we treated, I was doing like manually resisted techniques with this patient, and I got so weak afterwards. So mind you, I've been having this muscle weakness just in general, not doing any kind of physical activity for 6 days at that point. And then like I was literally like manually resisting like lower trunk rotations and hip abduction, adduction. And then I was doing like PNF patterns with this dude. And I'm already a weak person, like in general. My upper body strength is not good. I'm aware of that. Like I know that I am not a strong person. But normally, like when I do go to the gym and I do work out, like I get sore, but not until like the next day. Like that's normal. That treatment session literally killed me. Like luckily for the rest of the day, I didn't like manually treat anybody else. I was like, you know, there for safety and observing, because one of the patients was agitated. So the therapist didn't want me like treating him because he was agitated, just for, you know, safety in case he, you know, hit me or something, because it happens. And I was like, okay, no problem. And I like, luckily I didn't treat him because I don't think that I physically would have had the strength. Oh, can you see that heat? Ooh. And but like I even like rolling the oxygen tank, like my arms were like shaking. Like there was one point where I didn't have control of it, and like this is connected to a patient, and I was like, oh my gosh, like luckily they have a really long cord, but it scared me. And so I was like wrecked the rest of the day. Today I am so sore. I feel like I did the hardest workout of my life. Like everything hurts. Like my deltoids are shot. My glutes, oh my Lanta. I can't even tell you how bad my butt hurts. Like I feel like I was on the Stairmaster for like 1,000 years. Like my glutes hurt so bad. My hamstrings so bad. Like it's ridiculous, like how much I feel sore. So before, it was just muscle weakness. Like I just felt like my muscles were like gonna buckle or weak, but I wasn't sore. I didn't have any pain. Today I have like soreness, pain. So I know a lot of people get confused, especially like our patients. They don't know the difference between what a sore muscle feels like and pain. So like I'm trying not to like get in to that same thing. Like, I know it's not pain, like it's just my muscles are really sore, but like the amount of activity that I did should not cause this amount of soreness. So because of all of that, I know that was a really long story, but because of all of that, I have decided that the most likely culprit of this is keto, because that's the only thing as of right now that makes sense, unless it is something more serious, which if it is, then a change in diet shouldn't affect it if it was like a neurological disorder. So that's why my plan is to start to transition out of keto. So I did a bunch of research today. I've got my little notebook. First of all, isn't this adorable? It has my name on it. It's got a dolphin with some flowers. It's amazing. It's this little notebook. Tony got it for me for my birthday last year, I want to say. I love it. It is so cute. So I took some notes in there because obviously any change in diet you don't want to start suddenly. So obviously, because I've been on keto for 2 months, I don't want to like all of a sudden go back to like my diet that I was doing before, which was filled with, you know, Taco Bell and all kinds of like crap like that. So I was doing a bunch of research today on how to safely transition out of the ketogenic diet. So I just wanted to share because why not? And so what I have found is that you want to slowly increase your carb intake so that your body, you know, gets used to having carbs back in. And some of the foods that you should add back in include strawberries, baby carrots, black beans, edamame, kiwi, butternut squash, watermelon, lentils, oatmeal, and sweet potatoes. So out of that list, I like most of it as far as like actually liking the food. I don't really like sweet potatoes, and I've never really had lentils. It's not really something I think about. I like edamame, but I don't ever get it. So that could be something that we get. And then I don't really like black beans. I started getting black beans like when we used to get like Chipotle and stuff, just to like add in like beans, because I know they're supposed to be good for you, but I don't necessarily like oh, black beans, you know. But those were just a couple food ideas to incorporate back in your diet, and I was like, that's really easy, especially like the fruits, and I love baby carrots. So I was like, okay, that, you know, I could totally do that. And then I also added a couple of tips that I found from some of the articles. So first being, like I said, I'm already going to slowly start to increase my carb intake. So in my Keto Manager app, I already changed my carb limit up 5%. And so like each day I'll like slowly increase it, because I still want to track my calories. Because so the first thing is to add 2+ servings of carbs per day, but you still want to keep your calories low if your goal is weight loss. So obviously we started the keto diet because we wanted to lose weight. So like I don't want to all of a sudden like transition and to gain that weight back. Also, side note, I'm going to insert a clip here that I took after my OBGYN because I just had a little update for you guys. So I'll roll that here.
All right, hello.
Well, I just wanted to make a little clip. I don't know where this is gonna go, but as far as update goes on keto / weight loss journey or whatever, I just went to my OBGYN appointment, my like yearly women's exam, and they always like weigh yourself, take your blood pressure and everything. So I weighed in at 164.6, I think, and I asked them if they could tell me what my last weight was, and my last weigh-in was at 182. So I've lost almost 20 pounds, which is amazing. And my last appointment was, I think they said July of last year. So I mean, I know we didn't start doing keto until like a couple months ago, but I just wanted to make a little clip because I was really excited about that. And yeah, so that's it. Back to wherever this goes. Okay, so yes, I have lost weight. I mean, my OBGYN appointment from last year, I believe, was in July. I think I mentioned that. And obviously it's November, so it's a little bit longer. And obviously I've only been doing keto specifically for 2 months. So like, yes, I've lost almost 20 pounds total between those appointments, which obviously not all 20 of those pounds are from keto because I've only lost like about 10-ish pounds specifically in the last 2 months. So yeah, but I don't want to not have those, like, I don't want to regain the weight that I lost. Okay, that's basically what I'm trying to say. So in order to do that, you obviously, to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. You have to be burning more calories than you consume. And yes, Tony and I have been wanting to go back to the gym and start exercising again. And I do want to do that, but with this muscle weakness stuff happening right now, I don't feel comfortable going back to the gym until this is resolved. So I'm going to start doing the carb increase to see if that helps. Also, so continue on with these tips that I found. Of course, you want to keep hydrated. I actually have my water bottle right here next to me. This is the new one that I just got. It's a Hydro Peak. It's like a little matching set. It has like a little silicone thing at the bottom. I found it at TJ Maxx, and I'm obsessed with this color. If you couldn't tell, like literally everything I have more stuff is in this teal color. I'm obsessed with it. But yeah, so I have water. Like obviously that's always important regardless of diet or anything. Like hydration is important regardless. So I'm continuing to keep up my water intake. So that is important. Also, you do want to keep up your protein. So obviously keto is high fat, low carb, but they don't really talk about protein too much. They say that you don't want to have too much protein on keto because it can kick you out of ketosis, but like how much protein is too much protein, you know? So they don't really talk about it that much, but when I am transitioning off, you still want to keep your protein relatively high. So I am going to lower my fat intake, increase my carb intake, but probably keep my protein the same as of right now because it's still pretty high. So that's the plan on that. And then another thing that I found that was interesting, and so I wanted to write it down, was that if you have cravings, that you should honor those cravings and enjoy them, obviously in moderation. But that's the thing that, you know, we've always had a problem with. So we actually had pizza the other day. Don't tell Tony because I said I wouldn't say anything, even though he watches these videos. Love you. But we did have pizza the other day because he was craving it so bad he could not stop talking about pizza. So I finally was like, babe, if you want pizza, let's just get pizza. I know we said we weren't going to cheat until after Thanksgiving, but like, if you're just gonna be miserable and keep thinking about pizza, like, let's just have it. It's fine. Like, you know, and I think that's one of the things with diets is that, you know, you cut yourself off from all these things that you can't have, and then of course you have a, you know, a cheat day or whatever to satisfy those cravings. But like, sometimes, like this happened in my keto video, our cheat day sucked. Like, we hated it, and so we ended up having a second cheat day because the first one wasn't adequate enough. Whereas if we had actually been having what we wanted, you know, in moderation, like we're not having McDonald's every day of our lives, but if we had kept like just having a little bit of what we craved, then we might not have gone like off the rails like a second time, you know? So I think that's, you know, something that I want to try to incorporate. Like, I obviously like don't want to feel bad about what I eat, because I know like a diet culture obviously like is all around guilt. It's all around guilt. Like, oh, I had that cookie, so now I need to, you know, run on the treadmill for an hour, or like stuff like that. And like, that's not a healthy mindset either. Like, I don't want to keep doing that. And so we're gonna see how this goes, because I don't know how Tony's gonna change his diet, and that's usually like the issues that we have when we try to lose weight and all kinds of stuff, is because not every diet works for everybody. Tony and I are obviously completely different body types, and he's been doing pretty fine on keto as far as I know, besides like just being tired. We never got that energy that you're supposed to get on keto. But other than that, he's been sleeping better, he's been losing weight, like it's been really good. For me, like the keto flu hit me like a semi-truck, and then all of a sudden this muscle weakness is rolling me over like a semi-truck back and forth. Like, so keto is not the diet for me personally. So that doesn't mean that it's not gonna be good for someone else, but that's the only thing, is as I start to transition out of keto and start to add in more carbs. But if Tony still wants to stay on keto, which is totally fine, but then we're gonna have like a shift. So that's gonna be an interesting balance that we're gonna have to figure out, because like I said, I still want to be in a calorie deficit, because the whole point is that we want to lose weight. But like with this stuff, like this muscle weakness and everything, like it is impacting me so bad, like with school and treating one patient during a volunteer experience kicked me on my ass. Like, that's not good for me. Like, I have practicals next week that I have to demonstrate these skills that we're learning in lab. And I couldn't even practice today. I was so weak and my body hurt because of the soreness that I literally couldn't do anything. And we were supposed to have checkoffs today, and they didn't end up getting to my group anyway. But like, I might not have been able to demonstrate, and that's gonna impact my career. Like, the whole purpose of going through everything that I'm going through right now. And so if keto is negatively impacting that, like, that is gotta go. Is gotta go immediately. But obviously, like, I can't just jump on to eating a bunch of carbs. I do have to slowly transition. And from what I've looked up, it still takes like 2 weeks for your body to get used to not being in ketosis. And I have finals in 2 weeks. So I am definitely stressing out about this, and that also causes a lot of, you know, negative side effects. Like stress is a huge negative impact on your health. So I've already been stressed literally this entire semester because obviously, like, if I don't pass this class, then that'll, you know, bring me even more behind. And then like there's a lot of stuff riding on this. So it's just a lot going on. And, you know, the weight loss that I have had, like, while I, like, my clothes are fitting better and I feel like good about the weight that I've lost, the other symptoms that I'm having, just, it's not worth like computing. Like, I've always said, like, anytime that I, you know, am trying to like lose weight, I'm like, I would rather be fat and feel good about myself, like mentally and, you know, everything like that, than to be skinny and feel like utter crap, you know? So like, I'm not skinny yet. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm feeling like crap, and like that's not worth it to me. So that is the keto update. It's not for me. It's not working out at all. And so we are transitioning out. At least I'm transitioning out slowly. And we'll see how that goes. I am planning on making a video for my Diary of a PT student kind of stuff that I do on like the end of the semester. I've got like some clips going. So like I said, that might be, you know, 1 or 2 videos. I haven't really decided, depends on what happens and how long things are, because sometimes I end up going on a rant and whatnot. So we'll see, because I have our final practical next week and then finals the week after that. And then I have to take the comprehensive exam, which is a whole other thing that I don't want to talk about right now because this video is not for that. So anyway, I will probably maybe mention like some of this stuff in one of those videos. I don't have plans on making another update on transitioning out of keto, so we'll see. I'm not going to do a whole month of adding carbs back in. So yeah, that's going to be too much. But I did want to make this video because I feel like it might be helpful for, you know, somebody to know that keto might not be the right diet for you. And if you're having any of these symptoms that I had, like, you need to run as fast as you can. So that is going to be all for today. I am obviously done curling my hair, but I'm going to wait for a little while, put some oil in it and whatnot. I do have work. Obviously I'm using my phone in half an hour. So I'm going to put on a little bit of makeup and go over there and hopefully don't fall over, because I am still really sore. And so hopefully it'll be okay. But I'll post a little picture of the done do in case anybody was curious. So side note, if you are curious on to why I curled my hair like this, check out my how to get your curls to last for 10 days or something like that video, and I tell you like why I curl my hair like this. So yeah, anyway, thank you so much for coming to this video and watching this journey so far. I hope it was helpful and you learned something and enjoyed it. So I will put some other videos that you may want to check out at the end here. And thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel because that always helps me out and I appreciate it. So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks!